let's talk about entities. It's one of these words that is like almost like a forbidden word that people don't like to talk about, especially in the context of working with plant medicines like ayahuasca. But entities, they're real whether or not you accept that they are real. Entities don't care if we believe in them. They just exist. So I want to just demystify a little bit about the presence and the reasons that entities are not only exist, but are such a common occurrence in working with psychedelics. So the very general definition of entities is that they are energies. But for me, when I define an entity in the context of working with ayahuasca, it is specifically an energy that invades. I think that's kind of the connotation that we mean by that, is an entity is something that isn't really benevolent and is something that comes into our energy space to, potentially cause harm or to wreak a little havoc. Entities are not evil, they could feel that way, they could feel really dark. Some can be absolutely beneficial, but energies are prevalent everywhere. And the more we work with plant medicines and the more we crack open into the interdimensional awareness, the more we realize, oh, we are not alone here. And that energies like entities, they exist without needing to take a physical form. Not always, though. I personally also consider COVID an entity. Bacteria, parasites, these are physical entities that invade us, and they are not pleasant. I'm actually detoxing the most deadly form of E. coli right now. I've been in a detox protocol for several weeks. That is an entity that has invaded, and boy, the detox symptoms have been really intense, but the lessons have been even more profound of why I co-created this experience with this entity and what I'm learning by the relationship that has been built with this, and especially learning as I get it out of my system. I want to normalize the presence of entities and energies like this, especially when we work with plant medicines like ayahuasca, because the number one reason these energies invade our space is we're afraid of them. We either deny their existence or we're just scared. Entities, by the way, could be other people's emotions. It's just energies that come in and aren't our own and don't feel good. But then again, sometimes we take these on and we don't even know it. Therein lies one of the key lessons around working with energies like this, is that they are, at least fundamentally, showing us that we haven't been discernment about our own spiritual energetic protection. It's not something we learn in school, is it? They don't sit us down and tell us, energetic invasions are a reality of our world. You should learn to protect yourself. I really wish they did. So the plant medicines teach us through experience that if we are not sovereign, if we do not protect our space, other energies, be they spiritual energies, psychic attacks, dark magic, other people's emotions, all of those things exist. The best analogy I can give you is what ayahuasca herself has given me, is if you think about the front door to your home, you don't keep it open all day and all night. You're discerning about when you open it and who you let in. If somebody knocks on your door with a chainsaw in tow, you're probably not going to open the door. We need to learn to do the same thing with our spiritual and energetic space. There is a door, a portal that opens into our field, the space where we live, the vibration and the energy that we experience all day, every day. There are openings actually all over the place. Our chakras are openings, but there's a way to be very conscious of the door as a whole, to create a cocoon around ourselves so that we can be discerning, and that energies have to knock. And we get to say, do I want to let you in or not? This is learned over time. I am volumes better at this than I was 20 years ago, especially working with plants like sage, which teach the art of energetic protection. People ask me a lot, how do I do this? I can't give language. It has to be intuitive. There are tools and tips and things that I can suggest, but it's more around a relationship with ourselves that is based in self-love and based in sovereignty. For example, you are not going to protect yourself from entities if you give your power away to people in terms of giving them authority over your physical body. You're not going to protect yourself if you have a sense of obligation, if you do things out of a feeling of responsibility. That is an opening for energies to come in. If you're saying yes to anything where it's a no, where it's actually a no, you've created an opening where energies can come in. Yeah, it's how we learn to treat ourselves as sovereign beings and the priority. And that is self-love and that is protection. So people without boundaries, good boundaries, they're much more likely, especially in a psychedelic space where all things are amplified, they're more likely to have energies get in. But I also want to, like I said earlier, I want to normalize this. Entities are not the enemy, they're just teachers. Especially those of us on the path of serving medicine, or if we sit regularly, we're going to encounter them many, many times over. That's like saying, if you're going to work in nature, you want to work in nature, but you don't want to get dirty. You're going to get dirty. So you're going to play in the spiritual space. You're going to get sticky with some energies and some entities. It's okay. Normalize that, because the more we can come to it, removing that energy of fear and like we've done something wrong, or, the sky is falling. It's like, nah, okay. Things stick to me all the time. And it's like, okay. First, when we recognize that, when we're dealing with any energies that feel invasive or negative, or even that just don't feel like they're ours, that they belong to us, step one is purification. Don't worry about where it came from, who, what, where, why, the story of it. Focus on purification. So how do we do that? Eat well, not drink alcohol, connect with nature, do things like purifying with sage or Palo Santo or sacred tobacco, mugwort, all of these incredible protective purifying plants. Like I mentioned, I'm on an E. coli protocol. I'm going hard in the detox process of getting this entity out of me. And all of the amazing things that are happening as a result of that. We make it a priority to clean house, which we need to do regularly because the world is crazy and toxic, with or without plant medicines. Second, once we feel like our old selves again, and that is an expression that we use a lot of, there I am, I feel like myself again. Once that starts coming in, then we can play detective of, okay, what was that energy? What was the signature of it? Where did it come from? And most importantly, why did I allow it in? There's a soulful reason every time. But looking at these things from curiosity instead of fear. Because if we're afraid of it, we're going to have to reduplicate it. We're going to have to experience it again, because that which we resist persists. And so I remember working with a medicine sister a long time ago who was so afraid of entities, and she would see things on me after I did a clearing with somebody and just like be mortified in fear. I'm like, sweetheart, you're in the wrong business, because we cannot be afraid of energies that are everywhere if we want to interact with them. And plant medicine, psychedelic spaces, that it's inevitable that we're going to start becoming more and more aware of how complex consciousness is. So don't be afraid. Just think of it as dirt, grime that you get to learn how to clean off and purify. And then the more that we encounter these energies, the more we learn to protect ourselves. Now, no amount of protection is gonna prevent us from having our soul contract experiences. So even if I am a boss at protection, which I'm getting there, I'm not going to protect myself from having the experiences that my soul wants. So things will still come in, no matter how powerful a shamanic being is, no matter how strong relationships with sage and tools like that are, no matter what, we're still going to have to learn our lessons. So that's why I like to normalize it. Leanne is saying, how about animals? My dog seems to see a lot. So does my cat, Yeah, but especially with my cat, as an example, this is a great thing to bring in. He seems to really see, especially because I do ceremony work around him sometimes. I used to a lot. He would see things, but he doesn't really react in fear. It's just an acknowledgement. That is actually a superpower. It's one of the ways we protect ourselves, is if you see or sense something, acknowledge it. It's kind of like if you're in a parking lot at night and this creepy person is coming up on you. If you look at them, eye contact, it's like, bro, I see you. They're much less likely to come after you because you've illuminated them. Entities are the same way. And it's really interesting because sometimes our inclination is to contract. If we see a spirit, if we sense an energy that doesn't feel good, our first instinct is often, I'm going to look away. Sit up, deep breath. identify yourself. This is actually a trick that many shamanic practitioners talk about, is like, if there's an energy in your field, make them identify themselves. If they won't, if you feel there's any trickery, keep the door to your spiritual home closed. You don't have to ever let anyone or anything in that you sense has anything other than pure motives. But we have to say so. That's what sovereignty is. If we're asleep at the wheel, energies can come in. If we say yes because we're doing it out of obligation, entities can come in. Here's another way they trick us. They'll tell us that we're being asked to help heal somebody that we love. Hey, will you feel this energy so that, your spouse, your best friend can heal? Guys, say no. Unless you're really rock solid in your own sovereignty and you know for certain that this is for the highest good of both of you, don't fall for the trick of thinking that it's your job to heal somebody else. We heal ourselves. And I see this a lot in medicine spaces, as people take on energies that can cause all kinds of damage because they feel like they're doing it to be of service. We don't coddle each other in a space of healing. We're champions for how powerful we each are in healing. Don't fall for the trap of trying to heal somebody else unless you are very skilled in the shamanic space and you know how to not take on these energies. That's a trap. So working with self-love, showing up for ourselves every day by doing things like drinking water and connecting with nature, these are all tied into how we keep a space of sovereign protection. Because the way that we treat ourselves in the everyday moments of life is directly relevant to the way we treat ourselves when we feel like something comes under attack. Think of it in terms of the example I gave you around COVID or viruses being entities. If we've treated ourselves really well and we have a strong immune system and we're in a really empowered place, and when we encounter things like this, they may get in, they may cause a little damage, but they're not likely to harm or kill us. If we haven't been following a path of self-love and an energy comes in, they can cause so much more chaos in us. So every single thing we do out of a space of self-care, self-love, is actually an act of protection. So that's the key to this. And the rest, in terms of learning sovereignty, it's really, really intuitive. Vincent's asking, how do we purge the negative entities after we already get infected? Yeah, the purification process. It's like once we identify something is in our field that doesn't belong, then committing to the clean diet, the detox process, as well as smudging up a storm with sacred smokes. You can drink sage. You don't just smudge yourself with it. You can take the leaves that she is made of and crush them in some hot water. And she does for our insides what she does for a physical space. She cleans it. She purifies it. Create a relationship with a spirit like that is a partner to purification, especially if you're on this path to any degree where you sit regularly or you're in the path of being a practitioner. You gotta have an ally that's gonna clean house. It's the same thing as our physical space. You don't touch it, you don't clean it for weeks at a time, it's gonna get messy. So we gotta treat our spiritual space in the same way. Have a practice of purification, even if you don't have a sense something's coming in, because a lot of energies come in without us knowing it. And so just being committed to not just spring cleaning, but seasonal cleaning and purifying, it just helps us enjoy the ride here so much more. Somebody's asking, do I perceive entities as an aspect of our own consciousness? That's a great question. Everything is an aspect of our own consciousness on the highest level, right? You go up to the highest level and everything is connected. The trick of it is we're in duality. All of us are experiencing separateness. It may not be real, but it certainly feels real. So in that state of consciousness, entities are maybe a reflection of us on the highest level, but they are separate in the experience of them. Otherwise, I could tell you to have cyanide for dinner, and you wouldn't receive that as an entity of darkness. If you're in that state of consciousness and you can receive cyanide as an aspect of yourself, great. I'm not, so I have to treat entities as separate beings. because they can create chaos, and I don't love to learn that way. I mean, if it happens, right? But I prefer to learn from sovereignty and grace. So on the highest level, yes, all consciousness is connected to us. But here in the experience that we're having in Earth School, there is the experience illusion of separation, and we need to honor that, or we'll have cyanide and cease to exist in this incarnation anymore. Thank you so much for your questions and for talking about the entity thing, because I mean, it's a topic that we avoid so much and then we call it in. So it's a reality of working in the plant medicine spaces. It's okay. We've got this. It's not an easy path that we've all chosen, but let's normalize and demystify that these things, darkness, entities, they exist, and we can learn to work with them and learn that they are teachers. They are not things that we need to fear. Next week, I'm going to talk about what I think we really mean when we say we're of service, what being in service, what that role really symbolizes. And next week it's going to be on Thursday, not Wednesdays, by the way, because I'm taking a little mini vacation, which I deeply need. So thank you so much, everybody. So much love. Be safe and protect yourself out there, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.